Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And tell us, you're involved in Movement Day and Gather. So just tell us a little bit about what you do during a normal day.
Thank you. Yeah, well, firstly, I've been a church leader for 23 years, so and that nearly killed me, so I thought I'd do something easier. And we began to find that churches were working together in towns and cities together as one church across this country. It's pretty hidden work, really. People didn't really understand or know what was happening, but we went around and found out now about 130 places, that's cities and towns, where church are expressing themselves as one church in relational unity, sustained prayer, and mission towards the city or the town. Movement Day takes that onto another level, really, and asks the question, in the next 15 years, where could our city or our town be if we were more strategic, more coordinated, we cooperated better, we catalyzed new ministry, we celebrated what God is already doing, and we commissioned God's people into the spheres of life. So that's a rough overview.
Brilliant. Thank you, Roger. Let me just ask you a couple of questions. So, local church pastor. I'm a local church pastor. You were a local church pastor. And church unity. Tell me about that balancing act. You know, this is my church and I want to be really for it. And then, there's the body of Christ. How do you balance those two areas? How do you balance that?
Yeah, I asked my wife, my wife asked me yesterday what I was going to be speaking on. I said, well, they're going to ask me a question about balancing ministry. She laughed in my face, which was very rude of her. She obviously doesn't
we can all relate to it.
She doesn't believe in my authority on this subject. And the truth is, actually, that's a very hard thing. I'm not quite sure it's the right question. I think the issue is, how are we going to flourish as human beings in ministry? I think that is really the question. How, at the end of the process, when eventually we give up the ghost, have we remained fully human? Have we grown humanly as people? And there's a lot in life that enables you or works against you in regard to that. I mean, the church is insatiable in terms of its demands. You will never meet the demands of your church. So just give up, okay? The mission is pretty impossible, so you're not even going to do that either. So in regard to that, you've got to hone yourself down a bit, really, and you've got to focus on, I think you've got to make some key choices. And the choices for me are based around your mission, your calling, who are you, your ministry. You know, to be yourself in ministry is absolutely crucial. If you try and be somebody else, you're on a hiding to nothing. You've got to then, I think, work out your field as to what is the scope, really, of your ministry. I believe that isn't just within church. I think that's within the city. I don't think you're just called to be a pastor to a church. I think you're called to be a pastor to a city or a town as well. And you've got to, in a sense, get your head around that. And your church have got to get your head around that as well. Then within that, of course, you know, you've got to prioritize your time, your energy. There are different seasons, aren't there, for focusing. When the church is in trouble, you better be at home. Yeah. And then sometimes it's not in trouble, those lovely times when that happens. And then you can spend a bit more time doing something else. I think constant review, accountability. And then I suppose it's also to do with your capacity, actually. Mm-hmm. And sometimes your capacity changes, doesn't it? Sometimes you can take on the world, and other times you can't get out of bed in the morning. So that's all right. I think you've got to try and keep alive. St. Francis of Assisi was a spiritual director to one of the popes, which is a fairly heavy spiritual director to have, I think. And Pope Pius, or whatever it was, said to him once, "I've become so weary in well-doing, I've become a stranger to myself." And I thought that described me when I heard that statement. I could talk about ministry but talking about myself and actually who I've become. So keeping ourselves alive humanly is keeping our feet on the ground with our family. Having friends and meeting them, you know, just enjoying them.
Real friends. Yeah.
Rest is crucial. Fun is really important. And then just soul care, really, in terms of, you know, me and Jesus. I eventually got around to having a spiritual director, and I was very nervous about it. And he put me at ease, and he was just lovely. And I said, well, what are we going to talk about? And he said, well, we're just going to talk about you and Jesus. I said, well, we're not going to talk about ministry. I said, no, why would we talk about that? And so you're not going to talk about my relationships in the church or my family? He goes, no, just you and Jesus. And before we next meet, could you just spend an hour every day just adoring Jesus? I said, well, am I allowed to read? He said, why would you want to read? Oh, okay, bless him. Now, the activist in me, that was profound and shook me, I think. Because the truth is, I didn't really have a story. I had a dream and a ministry, and I could tell you all about church growth and things like that, but I didn't actually have a story to tell. And it just that sheer accountability, really, once a month to go to somebody and just talk about what Jesus is saying to you, what you're saying to Jesus, and what the relationship's like. I think it's about soul care. So.
Excellent. Just ask one more thing, Roger, and many of you can catch up with Roger during the breaks and over lunch and stuff, but one of the things about church and church unity movements is this tension between wanting to do the social action side of things, kind of like blessing the community and in food banks and stuff, and then the mission side of kind of like telling people about Jesus. So how do you navigate that with a movement group and the unity groups you're involved in, that tension with Christians in the room, some wanting to do the social action side of things and some the proclamation of the gospel? How do you navigate that with groups of Christians?
I think it's essentially a false dichotomy. Our brother was talking about Jesus having authority over everything, and he will have authority over. He has authority over everything. He has authority over people. Thank God I gave my life to him. He has authority, hopefully, over our churches. But he has more than that. He has authority over our towns and our cities and our nation. And, there's a great quote by Abraham Kuyper which says, "There's not one square inch of the whole domain of human existence over which Christ does not declare mine." He will have it all. He will have it absolutely all. So he will have people's lives, of course he will, but he will have the health service, please God. He will have Brexit, please God. He will have businesses and the road system and the environment. He will have it all. And his kingdom is coming to everything. That's the big picture, because he brings everything together in him. That's why unity is not an add-on extra. Unity is an expression of the gospel. And anything else is essentially an expression of our selfishness. So therefore the picture, is there a difference between the work I do within my borough council and where I get opportunities to share faith, by the way, in which I don't get opportunities when I'm in churches because they're usually Christians. So the opportunities I've had to lead people to faith are there because I'm there for the transformation of the society and the city and the borough. So I don't see a dichotomy. I think we have to hold everything together. Right. Is it, the person that you give food to, you may well be able to share faith. Would you not give them food if they weren't able to share faith to them? Of course you would. It's ridiculous, utterly ridiculous. And this dichotomy that we set up is I think we need that bigger picture. The gospel is huge, isn't it? It just covers everything. The shadow of the cross falls upon the whole of the world, and we're all brought into that gospel, and it's good news for everything.
Brilliant. Thank you, Roger.